Hello, welcome back, everybody, to a special Monday night edition, a Monday night hangout edition of Hollywood Purgatory. This is where the entertainment industry goes to get judged. I am 411 Mania's Jeffrey Harris. And on the other end, tonight is a special guest. He is Louis Lecca. He is an entertainment power broker, the founder and creator of Nuke the Fridge.
How are you doing,
Um,
Jeffrey?
Hey Lewis, thank you, man. It's great to have you on. You are a mover and shaker lately. You're at all the big premieres. You're at the red carpets. You're rubbing elbows with Hollywood's best and brightest, man.
Well, thanks for noticing,
Well
man.
done.
It's a lot. It's a lot of hard work. I only post the
It's a
happy
hustle.
parts.
It's
I
a
only post.
hustle.
I only post the happy stuff on the internet. So there's a lot of behind the
Good.
scenes stuff.
There's a lot of negativity, but you're always positive, and I always appreciate that about you. You know, you're not a negative. You're a really positive guy. You're not a negative guy, and it's nice. It's nice to get that. So
Well,
thank you.
let me tell you, I saw this show. You were working on it. I heard about it. I saw what a great job you do. I think it's very real, and for
Well,
real.
thank you.
And I called you and I told you I want to be on it. You
Thank you,
didn't have
man.
to ask me. I invited myself.
Well, yeah, thank you. Yeah, we're just getting started, and we want to do more, but I just wanted to really just start doing this and just feel my way through it, and kind of learn as I go, and it's still a learning process, but you set a great example, a
Thank you.
lot, and I mean, you helped me by letting me join on your podcast when you were starting your Nerd Report podcast, and I got to be a part of those, and that was very helpful. You know, to help me learn and get along. So
Thanks, man.
great. So thank you, man. So I just got back from a screening actually called "Thank You for Serving." It's a new.
How was that?
I mean, it wasn't terrible. I don't think it was a great movie. Miles Teller from Fantastic Four, he was in it. He was the main character. Uh, Very weird casting in it. Amy Schumer, of all people, plays a grieving soldier's widow,
Hmm.
which was strange. Um, Not a totally dramatic, non-comedic role for Amy Schumer, of all people. Yeah, that Amy Schumer was in the movie and totally playing against type in a supporting role, playing a grieving widow of a dead soldier. So that was kind of interesting.
Yeah,
Um,
Miles Teller. He's an underrated actor. Yeah, I've seen him in a few movies. I actually thought when they cast him in Fantastic Four, I thought he was going to be great. Unfortunately, the script was a little off, but I think the guy is really talented,
right.
underrated, and he's probably going to be a powerhouse at some time.
What was that boxing movie? You did coverage for that one that he was in, right?
Yeah, that was a Vidi Pazienza film. I
Yeah.
believe it wasn't lights. It wasn't lights out. You know the the name escapes me, man. Yeah, it was a pretty good film. He played Vidi Pazienza, and it had a great cast. Aaron Eckhart was in there, and it was
Bleed
a
for
good.
this. It was called Bleed for this.
That's right. Bleed for this. That's when I noticed he's good, and he's actually good in Insurgent. I like those series
He was
actually.
good in Only the Brave. I don't know if you saw that. That was
Not
the
yet.
movie about. That was the wildfire firefighter movies about the Granite Mountain hot shots. Didn't do very well, but it got good reviews. It was a solid movie. It's just a story a lot of people don't really know about, and I guess people just aren't. I don't think right now people are into like movies based on true events. I guess. What do
Well,
you think?
it tells you that a lot of people, they say, oh, the make it or break it for a film is Rotten Tomatoes, but we see a lot of movies getting high marks on Rotten Tomatoes and
Yeah,
still kind of bombing at the
Blade
box
Runner.
office. Blade
Blade
Runner.
Runner. Did not doing well at all. Blade Runner was hailed as a masterpiece and got fantastic reviews on Rotten Tomatoes. Only the Brave got great reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, didn't do well at the box office at all. So all those, a lot of people were attacking critics and Rotten Tomatoes saying it's ruining the industry and causing bad box office, but now we're seeing films getting great Rotten Tomato scores, great reviews, but they're not doing well at the box office. So
It could be
what is
anything, it could be marketing as well. Blade Runner did not have any pre screenings. It did not, a lot of people were saying that the trailers did not give the audience or the general public. They didn't really tell you what they were getting in the theater, type of thing.
Well,
No one knew what it
I
was
saw a
about.
pre-screening of the movie. There were
Yeah.
pre-screenings.
Well,
I
no,
th-
there wasn't pre-screenings and about. Okay, it's very secretive.
right. Yeah, they were.
Very very secretive. So people kind of like what. The plot was a general public, unless we're working with press. It was kind of difficult to
Right.
get a hold of. We didn't give it. We usually give away free screenings at Nerd
Right.
Report and Nuke the Fridge. We didn't get any pre-screenings for the public. It was all run of engagement, which means when the film's out.
A lot
Type
of
of thing.
people have targeted and criticized the marketing of Blade Runner 2049. Some have talked about the length. It is a 2-hour, 43-minute movie. It's R-rated. I don't think I don't think there's a single reason. I think there's a bunch of reasons. Also,
Exactly.
the original movie from the 1980s didn't do very well. The original movie was a box office flop and a critical flop. Siskel and Ebert didn't even really like the movie either at the time. It didn't. It wasn't until later the film became hailed as a classic.
I think
And yeah,
Blade Runner is very parallel to Tron. You know, it's one of those
yeah,
films that don't do good, but people talk about them
yeah.
40 years later. I,
Uh
Blade
oh.
Runner, am I in?
Yeah.
See my
Yeah, you're
dancing
still
there?
here. Go ahead.
Okay, so I think Blade Runner is a masterpiece, but the only thing is, it's a masterpiece for what it is. I don't see myself watching that film over
Right.
and over again. You know,
Okay.
it's a perfect sci-fi, or continuation to the original Blade Runner. The visuals are amazing.
Right.
I just don't see myself playing it over and over again on my Blu-ray player. Just my
All right.
opinion.
Well, you're the resident Star Wars expert. You are the resident Star Wars fanatic. You have a life-size like Kylo Ren poster
I do.
back there, right behind you. Kylo Ren he's standing guard over your room because you're like the Sith, you're the real Sith overlord. You're the real supreme leader around
Hey,
here.
look. Hey, look. What was that? Oh, that was me. Okay, right here. Sorry about that. So Kylo Ren is an underrated
Yeah,
character. He
I love
throws
Kylo Ren.
tantrums. Yeah, he throws tantrums. I mean, who hasn't done that? Like ripped up their room and
Yeah.
just thrown a tantrum because they didn't get it their way. Kylo Ren's perfect. That's why I have his cardboard right here.
We've been getting a lot. Star Wars mania. It's picking up. I
Uh-huh.
mean, we got that new trailer for The Last Jedi, but last week, Ron Howard finally revealed the title of the Han Solo anthology film that's coming out in May. So think about
Yeah.
this: we're getting The Last Jedi in December, right? And then
Right.
6 months later, in May, in Memorial Day weekend, we're getting a Han Solo film. We're
Right.
getting two Star Wars films 6 months apart. Even Rogue One and Force Awakens were a year apart. These are not are half that. So the movie is called Solo: A Star Wars Story. What did you think when they announced that as the title?
Nothing really. I mean, I need a trailer. I need a little bit of a plot synopsis. Right now, I'm not
Right.
really as into it. I mean, being a Star Wars movie. Look, Disney has their internal research. They know what people want. They obviously want to make their money back of their investment. I think people relate Star Wars to Han Solo, the general public,
Right.
and they want to see more. So they're giving them what they want. I need a trailer. Titles don't mean anything. As of right now, I'm kind of mildly excited about. I don't know.
Right.
I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I think it should have been called Bounty Hunters: A Star Wars Story, and have Han Solo as the center
Well,
piece of it.
Solo's not a bounty hunter.
No, but Bounty Hunt. You call the movie Bounty Hunters: A Star Wars Story, and then you have Han Solo being the guy Bounty Hunters chase. Maybe,
I'll run
I don't know.
a couple other suggestions that I liked. Some said Smuggler's Bounty,
Something like that.
Smuggler's Run. Would you have liked any of those better?
I don't know. I want to check out the trailer. I
Right.
personally think the worst title for Star Wars film was Attack of the Clones because they don't attack.
No kidding.
Phantom Menace was fine. I think
Yeah.
there's a Phantom Menace.
I
The
thought
movie
Phantom
was-
Menace was a cool title at the time. Yeah.
I mean, there is a Phantom Menace in the movie. The movie just wasn't that good. Attack of the Clones makes no sense
Right.
whatsoever. Well, they attack Geonosis. Who cares? Revenge of the Sith is good. New Hope's good. Empire's great.
Right.
Rogue One's great. Return of the Jedi is great. Force Awakens, which it looks at the
The
new
last
trailer is capitalizing on the
The
Force
Last
Awakens.
Jedi. The Last Jedi is a good title, I think.
Yeah, they're all great.
Yeah.
Solo's a little weird right
Um,
now.
have you been since you're the big Star Wars fan? Have you been concerned about what's been happening with Han Solo, where they're midway through production? They have two directors, Phil Lord and Chris Miller from the Jump Street films, from the Lego Movie. Very successful directors. They're fired from production and they're replaced by Ron Howard. Is this a cause for concern, or did Disney and Lucasfilm make the right play here?
I'm not as concerned because we're getting a movie a year. Every year we're getting one. So
Right.
if we have an okay film, it's okay.
Right.
It's okay because I know a good one is on the horizon.
Right.
My expectations are low for Han Solo right now, so they're probably going to be exceeded when it comes out. There's a lot of films coming out, so it's okay
Right.
to have, a comedy or a different tone. My concern is when Lucas was releasing them every 3 years, so there wasn't any. There was such a gap
Right.
that every film meant the world, the galaxy, the
Right.
eternity. We have
There's-
Marvel films like what 2 or 3 a year.
Well, I guess we technically had 3 this year, if you count
Yeah.
Spider-Man.
And
Right.
the X-Men are Marvel. I mean,
Right.
kind of. I know people
Yeah.
don't want to talk about them, but hey, you know what? I consider them Marvel.
Yeah.
So,
There's-
I'm good.
Are we spoiled on Star Wars, or you think, or do you think we're getting
expect
enough?
Too much. We expect way too.
Yeah.
I mean, not. I don't know about you or me, but
Okay.
general public expects way too much off Star Wars. That last trailer for The Last Jedi,
Yeah.
I thought that was spectacular.
Good trailer.
It
I
didn't
liked the
give
trailer.
away. It caused controversy on the internet. People are speculating. The effects look great. The action look great. The twists look great. We still have people complaining.
The only other time I've been that excited was when the Astros beat the Yankees at the ALCS to go to the World Series, where they will eventually beat the LA Dodgers.
That's
Suck
where
it, suck it, Dodgers.
That's where I out nerd you because I'm not into sports.
I'm not that into sports either, but I am from Houston. That is my hometown, and
Hey man, go Houston, man.
yeah,
Okay.
man, yeah. Thank you.
Go
Thank-
Houston, woo! All right.
But I mean, some people have noted how Lucasfilm, they seem to be getting a lot of directors, and they seem to be replacing them a lot. It happened with Rogue One, but with Rogue One, Gareth Edwards played ball with Lucasfilm.
Yeah.
Basically, the same thing was going to happen on Solo, but Lord and Miller said no and didn't like that, and they were gone. And then Ron Howard came in. Then we had the incident where whatever Colin Trevorrow was doing on Episode 9 was not working out. He was let go from the production and replaced by J.J. Abrams.
Woo! Sorry.
All right. So, I mean, I guess that kind of answers my question. But, I mean, to go a little further, so you're happy that Abrams is coming back, and that he's going to do Episode 9 and basically bookend the new trilogy.
Look, I have nothing against any director, but
Yeah.
but Abrams, man, I was so excited with The Force Awakens. I think he captured.
Yeah, me too.
He captured the feeling of Star Wars back, and
Right.
it's a mountain he climbed right there, man, because the reputation was down. I mean, let's give him credit.
Yeah, I agree, but you can't deny there's a backlash on the internet. Is there anything to be
About
said
The Force Awakens?
about The Force Awakens? Yeah. What do you think about the critics of The Force Awakens who say the film is nothing more than a rehash of A New Hope? Because I mean, I'm a big Star Wars fan, but you're one of the best Star Wars fans I know. So I'm curious.
The two
Yeah.
main things there.
Yeah.
A lot of damage done by the prequels, unfortunately, whatever you think of them.
Yeah, I agree.
People thought they were silly. I couldn't get anyone over 40 to like them. When think about all those years we were saying that when the Star Wars films come out, it was going to school everything and stuff.
Right.
And instead it was Lord of the Rings that was the fantasy epic during the same era. And
honestly, Spider-Man too.
and then
Yeah.
number two, it's a remake of one of the greatest sci-fi fantasy films of all time. I'll take it, baby.
I don't even, I'm not in that group though. To me,
No.
if we to really nerd out and get and do a deep dive on this, when I look at The Force Awakens, I don't really. Yes, I see parallels with the original, but that's because it's a Star Wars story, and you're always
Yeah.
going. And I feel in every Star Wars story, you can find similar character archetypes and similar parallels. But then when you look at John Boyega's Finn, he's a former stormtrooper
Totally
who,
different storyline.
yeah, that's a character type we've never seen in these films before. We've never
No,
no.
and also has Disney's been kind of doing something a little sneaky this time.
Yeah.
They don't really call these movies episode whatever it is. I mean, we know it is. They wink at it, but it's
Yeah.
Star Wars: The Last Jedi. It's not Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi.
Right.
I always felt that The Force Awakens was a soft reboot type of
Okay.
thing. I mean, imagine you just walk in and watch The Force Awakens and you never seen the other films. It works. I think it works.
Do you have a theory on Rey's parentage, or do you just not want to go down that rabbit hole?
I hope she's just someone. I always loved the idea that Anakin was Qui-Gon's son.
Right.
And, I mean, this isn't going to happen, but when you watch the trailer, if you go back to 99, simple story. Qui-Gon is Anakin's dad.
Right.
And he dies because he fights with Darth Maul, whatever. Obi-Wan takes over his training. Simple. When you start overcomplicating things, everyone's related somehow. It makes the galaxy smaller, and it makes it so cliche. It would be cool if Rey's just something different. But you know what? I'm open. Let's see.
I have a theory. I don't have a theory on the lineage. I have a theory about what you're talking about. Because of all the big plot twists in the original trilogy, I feel like everyone is just obsessed with figuring. Everyone wants to figure out what the answer is before the question is even asked. Really, everyone wants to stay a step ahead of Lucasfilm, and everyone wants to be like, I'm the one who figured it out. I'm the one who figured out that Snoke is Darth Plagueis, or that Rey is really Han and Leia's daughter, Obi-Wan's daughter, whatever. I'm not even. I kind of just want to see. All I want to see is a good story. That's all I want.
Look, I will tell you this. I'll give you guys the exclusive. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but I do know the opener of the
okay.
movie.
That's
it's going to shock everyone.
I'm very excited. Well, we know the movie's going to open up apparently where they left off of.
Yes, I'm just going to leave it as I know what happens right there. And it's going to shock everybody, and I think it's so cool.
It's very tantalizing.
I can't tell you.
Okay. Are you hot or cold on the porgs?
Look, at least they look real. But Jar Jar looked like they were dangling keys in front of my screen.
Right.
So yeah,
I'm probably one of the few people on the planet who actually likes Ewoks, so I'm not opposed to the idea.
People like Ewoks.
Yeah. Do you like Ewoks?
I never had a problem with Ewoks until I stood in line in 1999 with Star Wars nerds. They started criticizing the Ewoks that I loved. I love the idea of Ewoks, this primitive creature beating this technological terror. Yes, the movie had its little. The Endor was a bit boring.
Yeah.
That I will agree, but I don't know if the Ewoks had anything to do with that.
I agree. So the other great thing about Star Wars is the animated series Star Wars Rebels, which Star Wars Rebels I think far surpasses the Clone Wars. And I'm not trying to bash Clone Wars. I think Clone Wars was fine, but I think Rebels has always felt more like classic Star Wars.
Look, and man, the thing with me, I haven't gotten that into it. I've seen some scenes, and it's very epic stuff. The only problem I have with Clone Wars is that it's not live action. I want to see this thing come to life, and I get jealous because even the Clone War cartoons, they towards the end they fit the Jedi story so well compared to what we saw in the live action films. And I was like, man, they should have incorporated this into the movies. And then now Rebels is just kicking some butt. You know what I mean? So
You love the DC TV shows, and I mean,
yeah,
there's so much money and revenue in TV right now. I once read that CW's DC comic shows bring in like $1 billion a year, and that's from this. That's from CW. I'm not pulling that number out of my rear. Like DC
yeah,
CW brass have thrown out that number. Do
yeah.
you think it's inevitable that Lucasfilm will do a live action show that they've talked about before, but that was all pre-Disney and it never got off the ground? But do you think it's bound to happen at some point?
At that point, it may get really played out because you'll have live action films, like you said, twice a
Right.
year. Look what's happening with Marvel.
Is it a
With
problem for Marvel though? Is it a problem for
Yeah,
DC?
because the one that's really well, okay. Look, I don't know what
Okay.
the exact stats on this is, but from what I'm understanding now, the ABC Marvel does take place in the same world as the cinematic
Right.
universe, but
Right.
the Netflix does not.
The Netflix is supposed to, but
But
it's
they're starting not to. There's this even right now the Runaways, the
yeah.
new show that's going to be on Hulu. They came out and said we are in the same universe as the Netflix show, but we're not as the cinematic universe.
I don't
So
know
it's like,
how that.
what?
How does that even work?
I don't know. But
Because
I will say this: Frank and Sons Collectible Show. We are preparing to have through Nuke the Fridge and Nerd Report.
right.
We're going to have free autographs with the cast of the Runaways, and I want to invite you and everyone who's watching.
I'm looking forward to that show. Have you seen any of season 4 of Rebels yet? It just premiered
I
on.
haven't seen anything. No.
Okay.
Have you?
Yeah, I saw the season premiere. We got Mandalorians.
Nice.
All of it was on Mandalore. The heroes teamed up with Sabine the Mandalorian and some of the rebel Mandalorian characters, because there are two Mandalorian factions basically. There's a faction that basically is subservient to the Empire and Emperor Palpatine, and there's another like sort of like hardline like old fashioned Mandalorian, like we're only loyal to Mandalore and our people basically.
Yeah.
And they're trying to make inroads between like the Rebel Alliance and Mandalore. So there was a lot of that. We learn a lot about Sabine's family, the super weapon she created when she was an Imperial cadet, and it was quite dark at times because she created a super weapon that can basically, it's not like a Death Star, but it sends out energy and it targets Mandalorians based on their armor, and it turns them into dust. It
Nice.
vaporizes them. So like, and that was created by one of their own people. So that's really interesting. And Rebels can go to some dark places. I mean, you've seen some of the Darth Vader
Yeah.
episodes, right?
I've seen more than the Darth Vader episodes. Again,
Yeah.
I'm jealous because I want to see some of this become real. Because, you know, I'm an old guy. I grew up with cartoons, and
Right.
what was special about Star Wars and Superman and Close Encounters and E.T. and all the Spielberg stuff was that the cartoons, the animation became real. Everything we read in comics became real.
Right.
And that's why I want to see this stuff become real in live action.
The thing is, I mean, like animation was really what we had
Yeah.
before. The animation was doing all the things we wanted before the movies could really do it. The movies are cool, but like the movies weren't able to pull off what they're doing now in the 90s, you know, when we were in the 80s, when we were growing up. I mean, we had like, you know, our Batman, our Superman, you know, but like Superman came out in the 70s, Batman came out in the 80s,
Yeah.
and like it took years for the films to be able to catch up with like what you could do in comics and animation, really.
I think Superman the movie was one of the ahead of its time, though.
So another big thing I wanted to get your thoughts on.
Yeah.
Marvel. Here's what happened: the Punisher, Marvel's Punisher series on Netflix, because of the shooting in Las Vegas by Stephen Paddock, that horrible tragedy.
Idiot.
People got, I understand why they delayed the series. It was originally going to come out, I think, by surprise in October. They canceled a New York Comic-Con panel.
Yeah.
And then so now we have a new release date. It's set for November 17th. So we're still getting the show.
Yes.
Do you think delaying it was the right move? Was the correct move?
Honestly, I wanted to see it because it looks great.
Yeah.
Sooner the better. But yeah, it was a right. It was a right. I mean, think of the studio or the company's point of view. It, for all we know, there's a scene that looks similar to that in the show. So
Right.
I mean, it's just a few days more. It's gonna be epic. I'm gonna watch it no matter what.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of think on the between you and I and the millions of people watching this, I think the terrorists kind of win in a way when we alter our way of life
Right.
sometimes. But it's a double-edged sword, man. I mean, I feel bad for Netflix. They're between a rock and a hard place.
I mean, look, it's a fictional TV. At the end of the day, it's fiction. It's a TV
Yes.
show. It's not real. And
Correct.
to me, it's still art at the end of the day. And sometimes art can make us uncomfortable.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean it doesn't deserve to exist, for that matter. And I'm glad the show is staying on the air. I don't really mind that it was delayed or pushed back, but it's based on a Marvel comic character who's not real. And now maybe it might look really gritty, but it's still a fictional story. These characters aren't real characters.
But nowadays, this kind of stuff's made so.
Yeah.
It's so realistic,
Yeah.
Especially the Netflix Marvel is based on a real reality type of thing. So like the Batman movies, for example. But so yeah, it's gonna hurt. There were thousands of people affected.
I mean, but like Jessica Jones has some very dark psychological twisted horror in it that
Mhm.
and it deals with. And even though Jessica Jones is fiction, it deals with real life issues that women have to face every
Yes.
day. But just because those issues I think are disturbing doesn't mean it doesn't mean we shouldn't talk about it. Doesn't mean we shouldn't watch a show about it. And the Punisher, he's he's a military veteran who becomes like a crime, killing vigilante.
So we're not watching
Right.
a show about it. We're just
but it's
waiting
still
a little longer.
but it's at the end of the day, it's still a fiction. No matter how realistic it is, it's still fiction. And I think because it's fiction, we can accept it.
I agree with you.
yeah.
I could watch it, and I know it's art.
Right.
It's not gonna bother me, but it will bother some people. Hey, look, Jeff.
They don't have to watch it. They don't have to watch it then, really.
Yeah, but Jeffrey, look, I know people that have come up to me and tell me
Yeah.
that Man of Steel was in poor taste because it showed the buildings falling,
Right.
and that was reminiscent of 9/11.
Right.
So Man of Steel came out what?
2013.
Excuse me?
2013. Yeah.
So what, 13 years after 9/11? And they were still saying it was in bad taste to show something like that. So there's always going to be the naysayers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Look, it wouldn't bother me, but if it bothers other people, and as long as they don't alter the show, look, I heard through a little birdie that the Punisher was supposed to start streaming during New York Comic Con.
Right. Right.
So I let you know about that. So
I heard. I mean, I think it was definitely going to start in October. Definitely. Yeah.
yeah, so it's almost here. I think the real loser is DC because they're gonna compete with the Punisher for free. So now
Right.
they got the same week that
That's right.
Justice
That's
League
right.
comes out.
Same
So,
day, basically. That's
Yeah.
it. That's very interesting.
Not for me because I'm watching both. It's
Yeah,
gonna be a great weekend for nerds.
it will be. It will be. But I think the thing is, like, Punisher is like a TV MA. It's an adult show. It's
Yeah.
definitely adult. Justice League is more. I think will be more family friendly. I would imagine, or at
Yeah.
least I think they're trying. Do you think? Do you think based on now to segue into that? Do you think Justice League is back on track? Do you think DC has gotten the whole DC film universe back on track with Wonder Woman and Justice League now?
No, after Justice League, they will be kicking some major butt. After
Really?
Justice League, though,
Wow.
because this is still. I love you, Zack Snyder. Nothing personal, but your style of DC is not.
Working.
You know, it's not working. You have some amazing films. Dawn of the Dead, not the 300. Dawn of the Dead.
I like 300. Hey.
I don't like. Well, look, that's a problem. He made a great film, The 300, right?
Right.
That a lot of people liked. I wasn't a big fan, but then it feels like he wanted to make every film feel like The 300.
Right.
You know, The Watchmen felt like The 300 to a certain extent.
Right.
And which reminds me of Sin City. So as far as that's concerned, I don't want to see Justice League.
He made like Batman. He made Man of Steel and Batman versus Superman like Watchmen, and Batman like
that's not my thing, man. Because to me, The Watchmen and Man of Steel is his version is pretty much Dr. Manhattan.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So
I love Batman as a character, and Batman can be a very dark character, and he can go to some dark places. But Batman, at the end of the day, or at least the Batman I kind of grew up with, and he values human life. Yeah. He values his friends and his bonds. Jim Gordon, Dick Grayson, Barbara Gordon. He values his adopted Alfred. Alfred is his father, really, in every sense of the word, or his father figure. He values human life. That's why he refuses to kill. But I think Zack Snyder wanted to do Frank Miller's Batman from The Dark Knight Returns without really kind of understanding why that story works. And I think that's why so many fans and audiences in general rejected that version of the character.
I mean, there's no real reason why a Superman should fight Batman,
right,
since they're both the same guy essentially in those films. Batman
right,
being a darker character, more,
Superman was just like Batman.
It was. So there's no yin and yang.
They would fight each other because of a different, like, they have Superman and Batman coming into conflict. It would happen because they operate differently. They would have friction because they have different methods, but they would ultimately come together because they both stand for truth and justice at the end of the day, and I feel like that's what the movie should have been about.
Mm-hmm. When you watch the Justice League trailer, it bugs me to hear Batman or Bruce Wayne talking about how Superman was hope, how he was light.
Right.
And then when
we haven't seen that films, Superman. We haven't seen that.
And then when you watch the films, he hated him. So where's he coming out with this?
But theory? Superman was he never really came off like that character before.
No.
So you're not so hot on what we've seen of Justice League so far. And we're right on the cut.
I hate the Cyborg throwing Aquaman.
Right.
Okay, look, there's scenes there, right, where like there's mass destructions in the trailer.
Yeah.
That just looks fake, and then it comes to like, dude, like there's too much destruction here, and it looks fake. Then you got Aquaman jumping on the Batmobile going a zillion miles an hour. Then Aquaman's being propelled another zillion miles per hour forward
through like a
and
building, right? And like that
yeah, and it
building,
looks like a car. It looks like a cartoon, brother. It looks like a cartoon. So I don't. I really, I have the Super Friends for that.
right?
If I want to watch a cartoon, I'll watch the Super
I
Friends.
think I think the reason why Marvel works is
Yeah,
because even though you see lots of fantastic things and it's really like big and epic, it looks fairly real for the most part. Would you
I
agree?
think no. Well, kind of, but
Okay.
the Russos are kicking some butt as far as
Right.
realistic.
Yeah.
The Russos are the biggest ally Marvel has. That's number one. Number two, and maybe equal, is that Marvel listens to the fans.
Right.
They give the fans what they want, and they go with what's proven. They
Right.
don't. They don't deviate too much from the comics that have been around for decades. And,
Right.
and I think that's a big plus. That's your test. That's
Well,
your
I'll
test
just give you an
audience.
example. Like in
Right.
Civil War, in that big opening fight scene, like
Amazing film.
okay,
Amazing film.
like in that opening fight scene, you see Captain America hit like that tactical truck. He kicks the truck into like a bad guy. He
Yeah.
uses like his Cap has super strength, right?
Correct.
But when you see like it looks like so that's like a feat of superhuman strength. But when you see that, like it registers in your mind it's real because there's not a lot of trickery there. Like the
Well, the
whole
Russos like to use a lot of practical effects, just so you know.
not just practical, but the way it's composited, like you see it like, oh, I see what's going on there. But when I watch the Justice League trailers, here's my issue. Everything is way too overdone.
It,
And then they have those weird color like it's
it,
filtered in those weird colors. Like the background's like all red or dark
it's
blue.
an Xbox. I'm playing my Switch, bro.
Yeah.
That's a Justice League. I'm playing.
That's an insult to to video games because I think the Batman Arkham games look even better than this, to be honest with you.
Well, look. Let's go back. Let's compare to Star Wars. Okay.
Okay.
We see the Last Jedi, and maybe Rogue One. They're going away. And notice they're not talking about this that much.
Okay.
As The Force Awakens, they are not using practical effects as much. They're using CG. But
In what?
in both Rogue One and Last Jedi, if you look at it,
I've seen a lot of practical set photos. I would disagree because
Jedi,
I've seen some pretty impressive at like practical sets for the Last Jedi. Yeah.
okay, it kind of looks like a little bit, but it looks like smart CGI. Meaning,
Okay.
if there's such a term, is done right. And when it doesn't look right, you bring in the practical effects.
Well, I'll just give you an example. When Rey and Luke are on that island of what's that? Is it called Octo? Octo.
Yeah. Yeah.
So all of that was shot on location in Ireland, I believe. I believe on
I'm not sure where the location
Skellig.
is, but I do know it's a place where they have to. There's a lot of strict restrictions to be on the island.
Skellig Michael, Ireland Skellig Michael. All of
Right.
that. So all of those scenes are essentially shot on location at a real place. So
Yeah.
yeah, there will be some like of course some CG enhancements there, but like they're going to go to like a casino planet, right? Like
Yeah.
an elegant planet with like gambling and high society and all that. There was a really nice. There are some set photos where
I
you
think
can
it's called Hoth Vegas.
something like that. But there was some very impressive, lavish practice. I think from what I've seen, there's a good amount of at least practical sets for the Last Jedi. I'm sure I mean, look, obviously there's going to be a ton of CG in the film for the space battles and the
Yeah.
vehicles. Those the new Imperial walkers that are like gorillas that
Gorilla walkers.
the gorilla walk. Okay, yeah, like yeah.
People are already complaining about those because it's too much like The Empire Strikes Back, which is the greatest
Right.
film of all time. So you know what? If you want to mimic a greatest film of all time,
But-
you're a guest.
But I think we're going to get that, but mixed with a lot of practical rigging and practical effects work, practical sets.
Yes.
practical sets too. Now, I mean, you have The Force Awakens on Blu-ray, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think
Three of them.
I think the Blu-ray features do a good job of showing a lot of what we're seeing in The Force Awakens was done on camera, really. A lot of like the TIE fighter stunts. There were like they built like actual like an actual TIE when they're escaping that Star Destroyer. There was a whole practical rig built for that sequence, and it's so impressive. And
Well,
that's what I
there was a big marketing thing,
right,
um, pushing the fact that the practical effects were back,
right.
and
I remember at Comic Con.
believe me, that was not just because the us
That
geeks.
was J.J. Abrams. That was
It,
J.J.
but
Abrams'
they
influence.
also know that that there's a problem with too much CG,
Right.
and the people weren't believing the prequels as much.
It was a huge problem for the prequels. Nothing looked real. Nothing felt real. Everything looked like it was shot on a green screen. And
Have you watched
hmm,
episode
nah,
the sorry what is it, Attack of the Clones lately?
it's been a long time since I saw Attack of the Clones. It's
Dude,
been at least
it
two
looks like they're
years.
walking in front of a television station.
Yeah,
I mean, a
that
TV,
movie has not
not a television station, a TV.
it has
It's
not aged
horrible.
well. It has not aged well at
No.
all. Not at all. And it's disappointing. And I understand like why Lucas went in that direction, but it kind of when you look at the original Star Wars films, they kind of have this guerrilla quality to them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and what I miss about those films of the 70s and 80s, Lewis, is that I miss matte paintings and I miss miniatures and because you can always tell. You can tell something that was built by hand versus it being rendered in CG. You can always tell the difference. And to me, like miniatures, I think still have sort of a nice appeal to me because like all that detail was like it was built. Someone actually built it with their hands, and it looks like something you could like actually go onto. You can always tell the difference, I think.
And dude, that's why we're buying the 4K versions of these films.
Right.
We're buying when it comes out on
Yeah.
back in the day when it comes out on Laserdisc, we buy it. When it
Right.
came out on VHS, we bought it. When it came out on DVD, we were excited to buy it. When it came out on Blu-ray, we bought it. When
Right.
it's coming out on 4K, we buy it again. We've bought these films. I bought Close Encounters of the Third Kind on 4K Blu-ray. E.T. 4K Blu-ray. I'm gonna get what is it? Terminator on 4K Blu-ray because of the fact that what you just talked about. It is practical effects. Sure, it's enhanced a little bit with CG when we talk about uh, Terminator and stuff,
Right.
but still, you need that realism. And like you said, the map paintings, we miss those. And there's a lot of map paintings in Close Encounters. Let me tell you, especially the opening scene, that just reminds me when I had a visit to ILM. They had the painting of the entire city right on the wall at ILM. It was beautiful. And if you look closely, there's a drive-in theater, and they're showing Star Wars.
Just Terminator 2, for example, that's a movie that used cutting edge CG, but
Mm-hmm.
you still had like things like that highway sequence where, where they just use an actual helicopter. Like they flew an actual helicopter for that scene,
Right.
and it was super dangerous, but they did it. Um, and that's one reason that movie's so groundbreaking at the time. But yeah,
Hey man, can I
yeah,
tell you
go
something right
ahead,
now? This
go
is
ahead.
probably the best podcast I've ever had.
I am having a great time. This is awesome. I just love just shooting the breeze and just talking about cool stuff
Yeah,
that we're all
we're just down.
passionate
Just so
about.
you know, we're just down to earth guys. We
Yeah,
get to talk to. Sometimes we get to interview some big Hollywood
yeah,
celebrities, but we want to be the bridge between you and these people in Hollywood and stuff. And we're not tools or anything. We're just fans, and I think Jeffrey would agree with me.
Yeah.
We just love to have fun
Yep.
and escape. You know what I mean? So
I'm looking forward to that when I see Thor Ragnarok this week, and hopefully,
you haven't
hope,
seen it.
huh? No, I have not seen it yet. I will be seeing it this Thursday for the first
Have
time.
you seen Thor yet?
No, Thor Ragnarok. I've seen all the Thor films
You
besides
saw
Ragnarok.
Ragnarok.
Not Ragnarok. That's
Oh, okay.
Thursday. I will see that movie, and I'm hopefully going to have a good time. And I've seen. Thankfully, Disney has given me the opportunity to see the last two new Star Wars movies on the Disney lot. So hopefully that will be the case when The Last Jedi comes around, and we'll be there on the Disney lot, getting to be among the first critics to see the film. Hopefully.
I love what Disney is doing with the fans. They give us
Yeah.
so many opportunities. Thank you, Disney.
Yeah, because they have those. When the trailer was coming out for like they've done that for each of the films. They'll have like a trailer showing at the El Capitan Theater, right? They do.
Yeah,
They like to do lots of fan events.
Yeah, I
Right.
covered it on my own. It wasn't really a press event, but I just decided to
Right.
go because I love Star Wars, and then maybe they'll take note, and I could talk to someone, maybe like Mark Hamill's hair designer or something.
And then they had a 7-film marathon, a 24-hour marathon. When The Force Awakens came out at the same theater, and I did go to some of that. And they had a lot of guests. Ray Park was there. Billy D. Williams was there, and they did some question and answer, and they did some fun stuff. They had a lot of fun activities in between each film to kind of keep us, to keep us lucid. It was a cool, yeah. So they're good at fan engagement and doing the fans of all. Speaking, all right, so to take this really to another level, I showed this on the last podcast, but this was a friend of mine. This is the New York Comic Con shared exclusive. Funko Pop, the pop vinyls.
Yeah.
So this is the shared exclusive for New York Comic Con and Toys R Us. So what's better than Boba Fett, Lewis? Boba Fett in Star Wars.
Vader's always better.
No, Boba Fett and his ship, the Slave One. So this is a this is a Funko Pop of Boba Fett in the Slave One ship. If you can see it here. A friend of mine helped me get this. So if you went to New York Comic Con, you were able to buy this, or if you went to Toys R Us a few weeks ago, they were selling these. So there were a number of Funko Pop exclusive, and this was one I really liked because it has Boba Fett in the Slave One. It's very nice. So if don't break the bank, to buy one of these if you like collecting Funkos, but I think it's a very cool piece. Don't you agree?
I agree, man. I agree. Hey, quick question: is there any truth to that Boba Fett was one of the original designs for Vader?
I never, you know what? I never heard that. I remember Joe Johnston helped design the character, and he had that white armor.
Yeah.
But I also remember his first actual appearance was in the holiday special,
yeah.
in an animated segment. I think Ralph McQuarrie designed him. I think
it was one of the. Well, I heard it was one of the Darth Vader designs.
That I don't know. I think I might have heard something like that. I believe Phasma's design for The Force Awakens was I think one of the designs for Kylo Ren, basically. It's my understanding.
Really?
Yeah.
So Kylo Ren was supposed to look like a stormtrooper?
Like that chrome stormtrooper.
Oh, okay.
Basically. Also, I do know this. Originally, Han Solo was supposed to be like a reptilian humanoid. He wasn't even human.
Yeah.
And Darth Vader was basically what became Darth Vader was essentially two separate characters who were merged into one.
I think the original story was Obi-Wan trained two guys. One was Anakin Skywalker.
Right.
The other one was Darth Vader. Darth Vader became jealous of an Anakin Skywalker,
right.
or whoever Luke's father was supposed to be. and eventually backstab them. I think that's the
I
original
think
one.
there's a George Lucas, his early draft of Star Wars, it's available in graphic novel form, I think called the Star War or the Star Wars.
Yeah.
It's called the Star Wars basically. I think Dark Horse published it. So it's very different from A New Hope. Let's just say that. It is radically different. And if you want to see a reptilian lizard man version of Han Solo, maybe give it a look. One thing,
No thanks.
oh, okay, I'll
Maybe
tell you
that will be the Han Solo film.
one obscure thing I'm very excited about for the Han Solo movie.
Yeah.
Um, Tag and Bink. Did you read that news item about Tag and
No.
Bink? So, uh, Tag and Bink, it's hard to describe. They were basically kind of these, uh, like it was a Star Wars comedy, basically published in the Legends Dark Horse era. Basically, like there are these two like bumbling fools who are kind of in the background of all the major events of the prequels and the original trilogy, sort of basically causing all the major events to happen without ever you really knowing their
Mm.
role. But they're going to be in the Han Solo movie basically in some type of cameo. John and the Lawrence Kasdan's son is the co-writer of the movie. He's playing one of those characters, Tag and Bink. Look up Tag
Okay.
and Bink. Look up Tag and Bink if you have time. I think there are a couple graphic novels of Tag and Bink. They're really fun Star Wars stories. It's basically the Star Wars version of what's that Hamlet play? Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. It's basically the Star Wars version of Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead, basically. And basically, it's taking the idea of like two sort of comedic characters who are in the background of both trilogies and seeing them get into misadventures. And really, these two characters, like here's an example of the humor. Like these two characters, Tag and Bink, were Jedi younglings, and they were the one giving advice to Anakin, telling Padme to talk about sand, telling Anakin to tell Padme about sand, basically.
Oh boy.
And that's why Anakin. So when you watch the prequels, remember those scenes where Anakin's talking about sand and how he doesn't like it.
Yeah, that pickup line doesn't work.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, the idea is you see these two little kids off the side, like telling Anakin what to tell Padme. Hey, tell her about sand and say this,
Oh
basically.
boy.
So that's kind of an example of the humor, and these characters are going to be in the Han Solo movie. So I'm very excited about that.
What
Tag and
about
Bink.
the two ladies Han Solo was flirting with inside the cantina bar? Remember those?
In the original.
Yeah.
I don't. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if we go back to the Mos Eisley Cantina at some point, or Tatooine. I remember in Rogue One we saw Ponda Baba and Dr. Evazan. Remember that
Yep.
from the same place. They showed up in Rogue One when the heroes were going through when they were on Jeddah.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that. That cameo didn't really work for me because I didn't like that. I thought, yeah, like I know who those characters are, but like, why are they there? But Rogue One, I liked Rogue One for the most part. Wasn't my favorite Star Wars film. I know why you like Rogue One because of Darth Vader going sick house on all those rebel
Yeah,
bucket heads.
but Darth Vader was a little off in that film.
Off how?
Well, he had the the person they had in the suit
Oh,
did not do a very good job.
that's not what you said after the movie.
No, look, I like Rogue One, but there's a few scenes when you sit down and
Okay.
start watching again, like the music
Look,
was a little not Star
David
Wars-y.
Prowse. David Prowse wasn't available. I mean, he's
No, but the guy inside Chewbacca in the new trilogy has mimicked his walk pretty well and his
right,
mannerisms.
right.
I felt
Because
like I felt like Darth Vader, especially there's a before he goes on the the Tantan 4,
Yeah.
he when he gives the order to prepare my ship, his walk's a little weird when he's inside the Imperial
Right.
shuttle.
Because Peter Mayhew, he can't do all the scenes as Chewbacca. Like he does some of them that we know
No,
of, but
he's out. He's out. He
he
doesn't
didn't
do
work
any of
on
it.
Han Solo at all.
Well, I don't think he worked on
Well,
you know.
he did work on Force Awakens, but he didn't do a lot of the action scenes. Like they had to get a
Yeah,
younger, fitter actor to handle
yeah.
who was
He
very
has a lot of
tall.
he has a lot of health problems.
Yeah, yeah. Because I mean, he's an elderly man at this point, so he couldn't do all of the. He's seven. I mean, he's 73 years old, and he's had a lot of surgeries and issues with his legs and whatnot. So, and he needs a cane to walk.
Yeah,
Um, so
I'm
he
sure
couldn't.
he was
Yeah,
in the suit a couple times,
yeah.
but
Yeah. You're right. But you're saying he's not in Han Solo at all.
I don't know about that. But I'm saying he's out as far as like I don't think he's doing much. You
I
know,
think he did work on last. He did work on the Last Jedi to some degree.
mm. I love Peter Mayhew. I've met him a few times. It's just he's I don't like you said, his legs have given out on him. He's got a lot
Yeah.
of health issues.
So far, how have the new DC shows been so far this season with between the Flash and Arrow, Legends
Eh,
and Supergirl?
eh. Well, Supergirl is interesting. I wish Kara would take her task a little bit more serious. She
Right.
seems to be a little bit of a child still. The season opener was good. She still has that love thing with Monel, which is her love interest, and that's kind of a little bit high school, and she's not in high school. Um, the Flash, the first two episodes have been okay.
Right.
I know they want to go for a lighter tone this season, but it feels a little extreme.
Last
Uh,
season was a pretty dark season.
yeah, but this one's a little bit too much the other way. So
Right.
I would have liked for them to build up to.
Can you, since you're a loyal Flash viewer, like what is the deal with Iris and Barry?
They love each other, man.
Do they
Like I love
really?
you.
Do they
Yeah.
really? Because it's always when I watch the first two seasons, it always seems so one sided on Barry's part.
You mean he
Honestly,
doesn't? He loves her, but she doesn't love him.
well, like to me, she always saw him as like her little brother, kind of, or a best friend, but not like a lover. You know?
No, I think that relationship's pretty genuine. I buy it.
Okay,
The entire cast is pretty believable.
I agree.
As a family, it's weird that they are brothers and sister. Gives you another
Not
dimension of
well.
Han and Leia. I mean, Luke and Leia.
Luke and Leia.
Yeah.
Well,
So
Barry and Iris aren't. I mean,
believe it, man. I
they
dig
aren't.
it.
They aren't actual brother and sister. So,
What?
like her father took him in after his dad was arrested him for believing to have killed their mom. Like and they were close. They were close beforehand. But it was
Yeah, but he had a crush on her, man. Don't you
yeah.
think he'd like sneak into her room or something?
Okay. That's ugh. Weird. I mean, you know what? Based on the way he acted in the first season, I mean, I wouldn't have surprised me because he seemed very. She didn't seem interested, honestly.
No,
In the
that
first,
was the entire thing. She's not interested.
he was
in the beginning.
practically screaming that he had a crush on her in the first season.
Yeah, but they're trying to play the traditional thing where, like, when you were in high
Ross
school,
and Rachel.
you go after a girl, you have a crush
Yeah.
on a girl,
Yeah.
she doesn't get it, type of thing. I love the show. It's a good show.
What do you think about Gotham?
It's campy.
Yeah.
A little too much Tim Burton-ish for
Yeah.
me, but let's see. It has some greatness hints in there, and Penguin the guy, is great. The villains are great.
Here's
Riddler's great.
my whole problem with Gotham is I feel like, you know, you want to tell, like, what they want is a Batman show with all the Batman characters, but like he's not even Batman yet, and I don't
Are you
know.
up to date?
I'm no, I'm not. But like, I guess they're bringing in like
See,
all of they're establishing all the famous
yes.
Batman. All the Batman villains are like in there now. They're all like showing up in there now and
Mm-hmm.
established. And I'm like, well, well, some of these characters don't even show up until after Batman's been around for a few years. You know, it's weird.
Well, it's like a typical comic book. It's of what Batman is. I have
Yeah.
nothing. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Um, I think there's something wrong with when the Penguin has this entire crime scheme where he's licensing crime. The
How does that even
licenses.
work? How does that
Correct.
work?
So it takes you out of
Weird.
the film. I mean, out of the
The
show.
show. Mm.
Yeah, that doesn't work. You know about the crime licenses?
How do you have a license for crime?
I don't know.
Crime is illegal. How does that?
Yeah, it just throws you off from reality. So it's one thing you got to admire about
Is there a shell company or something?
Gotham is a true comic.
Uh-oh. Lewis, are you still with us?
Like a TV.
Okay.
It doesn't make sense. You know, comics kind of like, you know, they go off a
Sometimes,
little
yeah.
bit. Yeah.
Sometimes.
So this one does. It's the most true comic. I don't know if it's a Batman comic, but it's a comic. That you gotta give them props for that. I think, like I said, the Penguin is great. The Riddler's great, and I think the
I like Ben
Kingpin.
McKenzie. I like Ben McKenzie as Gordon.
Yeah,
And I like Donald Logue as Bullock. Donald Logue's a great actor. He's
the
an
kid
underrated actor.
playing Bruce Wayne is not bad. He's not bad.
All right, fair enough. Anyway, so I think that about does it for tonight. We've had a lot of fun. Lewis,
What? It's only 1 a.m., dude. What's wrong with you?
well, look, it's been a ton of fun. I hope we get to have you on again sometime. It's
Thank
been
you.
great. Louis Lecca, his website is Nuke the Fridge. You can check it out at nukethefridge.com. You can check him out on iTunes with the Nerd Report podcast, right?
Thanks, Jeff. And we also have our own YouTube channel,
Right.
Nerd Report. We're building up a little bit, and Nuke the Fridge if you want to check out some more interviews. And I definitely want to come back. I think you have something good to hear.
Thank you, man.
And,
And
I wanna be part of it.
you're getting all these big scoops now with Justice League and like yeah. So check out Nuke the Fridge for some really exciting news about the upcoming Justice League movie and lots of great gaming reviews and everything. If you're a nerd, it's like a one-stop shop basically. Anything else you want to plug between Frank and Sons or Nuke the Fridge Con or anything?
Nah, not at the moment, man. But I'll be back
Okay,
with
great.
some good stuff.
Great, thank you, Lewis. I had a lot of fun, and everyone be safe, and may the force be with you. Thank
May
you,
the force
guys.
be with you.